Welcome back to Chat Like a Native.
Thanks for having me. It's really good to be back.
Today we are cutting straight through the noise because, we spend so much time analyzing grammar books and tapping away at vocabulary apps. It's effectively like studying the theory of swimming without ever actually getting in the pool.
Yeah, that's a perfect way to put it.
But today we are talking about the shortcut. For anyone listening, this discussion is your roadmap for bridging that massive, honestly terrifying gap between knowing the language in your head and actually performing in it without feeling awkward or just freezing up entirely.
Exactly. It's the difference between passive knowledge and active skill. So what we're going to do is look at a system that helps you select the right digital tools for specific skills, because not all chat apps are created equal. And we're going to give you a literal checklist for finding a partner who actually helps you learn, rather than just, wasting your time.
And we are going to fix the thing I think I hate most, which is the awkward silence. We're going to break down the mechanical loops that keep a conversation from dying. And to keep this all organized in your brain, we're using a mnemonic today. We're going to use the CHAT method.
Right. C is for choose the right tool and partner. H is for hold the loop, which is about the mechanics of speaking. A is for act on corrections. And T is for train with consistency. CHAT.
I do love a good acronym. It just makes things sticky. So let's set the stage here before we jump into the letters. Why is this so hard? Like, why do people who can read a whole novel in English suddenly fall apart when they open a chat window?
It's basically a psychological hurdle. You have to realize that textbooks are a preparation, but a chat is a performance.
A performance?
Right. When you're reading, your brain has time to process. It can go at its own pace. But in a real conversation, your brain has to do three incredibly difficult things all at the exact same time. You have to understand the input you're hearing, you have to formulate your response, and this is the hardest part. You have to manage the social dynamic to keep the interaction alive.
Man, that's a lot of spinning plates.
It really is. And that's why people fail. They try it once, it feels super awkward, they panic, and then they quit. They basically treat it like a test they failed, rather than a skill they just haven't practiced yet.
So the brain effectively just overloads.
Exactly. It's pure cognitive overload. You freeze up because you're trying to get the grammar perfect while simultaneously trying not to look foolish in front of another human being.
Okay, so let's unpack this, starting with the C in CHAT, which is choose. This is about choosing the right tools and the right people. Now, typically I just think, I need to practice, let me just get on Skype or Zoom. But you're saying that might be a bit blunt.
It is. If you just jump into a live call without prep, you're basically setting yourself up for anxiety. You need to match the tool to the specific muscle you want to build at that moment.
Okay, so walk me through the toolbox. What are our options?
Sure. So first, you have text chat. This should be your entry point. It's best for building confidence in vocabulary because it buys you time. You can actually see the words on the screen. You can spot your own grammar mistakes before you hit send. If you're shy, you absolutely start here.
That makes total sense. It's like training wheels. You get to figure out how to balance without falling over and scraping your knee.
Exactly. You're safe. Then you have what I honestly think is the most underrated tool in language learning: voice messages.
Oh, the voice note. I feel like people either love these or absolutely despise them. Like, some people treat them like mini podcasts.
They do. But learners should love them. Think of a voice note as the bridge between texting and a live call. It trains your pronunciation, your rhythm, and your speed, but, and this is the key, without the pressure of a live audience staring at you. The magic feature here is that you can record it, listen to yourself, and re-record it before you send.
That's the secret weapon right there. You can actually fix the mistake before anyone else hears it.
Precisely. It gives you the illusion of fluency, and that builds the confidence for actual fluency down the road. Then, only once you're comfortable there, you move to voice calls. This is for speaking under pressure. This is where you learn to interrupt politely, clarify misunderstandings, and deal with the actual speed of real life.
And what about group chats? Because I feel like those are everywhere now. Discord, WhatsApp groups.
Yeah, group chats can be really messy. They're often just a waterfall of text moving too fast, but they are excellent for exposure to different accents and, internet slang. Forums are better if you want to organize complex thoughts, but if you want to get functionally fluent, you really need that one-on-one dynamic.
Which brings us to the second part of C, choosing the partner. Because I have heard so many horror stories. Where they only want to talk about themselves.
It's probably the #1 complaint, but the problem is often that learners just think any partner is a good partner, And that's just not true. You need a filter.
Okay, give me the filter. How do I know if someone is actually worth my time?
It's a pretty simple checklist, actually. Before you commit to a weekly practice with someone, you test them. First, can they hold a simple conversation for 10 to 15 minutes? Second, and this is crucial, do they ask follow-up questions?
Oh, that's a big one. Because if I'm doing all the asking, it's not really a conversation, it's an interview.
Exactly. You're doing all the heavy lifting and getting exhausted. And third, are they respectful of the structure? Like, if you agree on 10 minutes in English, 10 minutes in your native language, do they actually stick to it? If the answer to two or more of these is no, you politely move on.
Ruthless. But I like it. You have to protect your time. But how do we attract the good ones in the first place? Because I imagine the good partners are also out there filtering us.
They absolutely are, and that's where the profile hack comes in. Most people just write a profile that says something generic, like, "Hi, I want to learn English."
Boring. Swipe left.
Right. Instead, you need to be specific. Write something like, "I'm an intermediate learner looking to practice voice notes and short calls. I like practical topics like work and daily life, and I prefer kind corrections."
See, that's so much better. It tells me exactly what I'm getting into, and it filters out the people who want to talk about, I don't know, astrophysics or some obscure political theory I'm just not ready for.
Right. It sets expectations immediately. You attract people who are on the exact same mission as you.
Okay, so we've chosen our tool and our partner. Now we move to H in CHAT, which is hold the loop. This is about the mechanics of the conversation itself. And honestly, this is where I see people crash and burn the hardest. The dreaded hi.
Yes. The hi is the absolute death of conversation. It goes, "Hi, hi, how are you? Good." And then silence.
Ugh, painful. It's like a tennis match where both players just refuse to serve the ball.
To avoid that, you need what we call the three-part message formula. You should never just send a greeting. Your opener always needs three things: a friendly greeting, one detail about your goal, and an easy-to-answer question.
Break that down for me. Give me an example.
So instead of just hi, you say, "Hi, I'm currently practicing English for real conversations. Do you prefer text chat or voice note?"
Oh, I see. You're giving them a job to do. You're making it super easy for them to know how to respond.
Exactly. Or you could say, "Hey, I'm working on my speaking fluency right now. What topic do you enjoy talking about most: work, hobbies, or travel?" You're reducing the cognitive load for the other person.
I love that term, cognitive load. You're basically holding the door open for them.
Yeah.
But what about when you're actually in the middle of the chat? How do you stop it from becoming that boring Q&A interview we talked about earlier?
This is maybe the most important mechanic to learn today. It's called the conversation loop. A lot of learners just answer the question they're asked and stop. So the partner asks, "Do you like movies?" And the learner just says, "Yes."
Dead end. Wall.
Right. To build a loop, you need a specific structure. It goes: answer, then add detail, then ask related question, then offer choices.
Whoa. Okay, slow down. That's a combo move right there. Break that one down for me.
Okay, let's use the movie example. Partner asks, "Do you like movies?" Step 1 is the answer: "Yeah, I do." Step 2, add detail. "I especially like crime movies because the stories are really intense." Step 3, ask related question: "What about you?" And step 4, offer choices. Do you prefer crime, comedy, or action?
I see what you did there. By offering those choices at the end, crime, comedy, or action, you made it incredibly easy for them to reply. They don't have to search their brain for a genre from scratch.
Exactly. You are constantly feeding the conversation. You're keeping the ball in the air.
It's considerate, really. You're taking the pressure off of them. But let's flip it for a second. What if I get stuck? Because here is where it gets really real for me. My biggest fear is just going totally blank. My brain freezes, and I look like a deer in headlights.
Listen, that happens to everyone. Even native speakers get brain freeze. The trick isn't to never freeze. It's to know how to buy time. We call these bridge phrases.
Like filler words.
Yes.
Like saying, for 5 seconds.
A bit more sophisticated than or you memorize actual phrases like, "That's a good question, let me think for a second," or "I've never thought about it like that," or my personal favorite, "Can I answer that in 2 parts?"
Okay, can I answer in 2 parts? Is genius. It makes you sound so organized, even if internally you're completely panicking.
It creates a buffer. It signals confidence, even if you don't feel it quite yet. It tells the other person, "I am still here, I am processing, don't interrupt me."
So we're holding the loop. Now let's talk about what we're actually talking about. Because running out of topics is another nightmare. I can only talk about the weather or where I'm from so many times.
This is where topic packs come in. You shouldn't be trying to invent brand new content every single time you chat. That exhausts your brain. You want to have preset packs of topics that you use again and again with different people.
But isn't that boring? Just repeating the same stuff.
Not if your ultimate goal is fluency. Repetition is exactly how you get faster. If you tell the same story to 5 different partners, by the 5th time, you're going to sound incredibly fluent. You'll know exactly where to pause, you'll know where the joke lands, where to laugh.
That is a really good point. You're optimizing the delivery rather than stressing over the material. So what's actually in a topic pack?
So pack 1 is daily life. Your routine, food, money, weekend plans. Simple, fast, useful stuff. Pack 2 is opinions. Social media, work-life balance, things that require a bit more thought and deeper vocabulary.
And I see here there's a storytelling pack. I love this one because, well, everyone loves a good story.
Yes, but you need a structure so you don't just ramble on. The structure we use is background, then problem, then action, then result, and finally lesson. So for example, I was at the airport, that's the background. I lost my passport problem. I retraced my steps, action. I found it sitting in the coffee shop, result. And I learned to always zip my bag, lesson.
Boom. That is a tight, satisfying story. And you can practice that exact sequence over and over until it's flawless.
Exactly. And finally, you have role plays. Ordering food, job interviews, checking into a hotel. These train those automatic reflexive phrases you need in real life.
Now, I want to circle back to voice notes for a second because we called them the secret weapon earlier. But is there a technique for them? Or do I just hold the button and ramble into my phone?
There is absolutely a formula. We call it the 60-second formula. Keep it short. 1 sentence about your day, 1 detail, 1 feeling, and 1 question. So, today was really busy. I finally finished a big report. I felt really relieved. How was your day, busy or calm?
And the true beauty of the voice note is the re-record button.
Yes, but, and this is a massive warning, do not fall into the perfectionism trap here. We have a strict re-record once rule. You record it, you listen to it, you record it 1 more time to fix clarity or speed, and then you hit send. Do not sit there and do it 10 times.
I feel personally attacked right now. I would definitely be the person doing it 10 times to get my voice perfectly smooth.
If you do it 10 times, it stops being communication and starts being like performance art. You want to train your brain to produce language on the fly, not to produce perfect audiobooks.
Okay, fair enough. Let's move to the A in CHAT, which is act on corrections. Now, this is a tricky balance because if I get corrected too much, I feel stupid and I want to quit. But if I don't get corrected at all, I'm just fossilizing the same mistakes.
It's the classic Goldilocks problem. You need to set the ground rules early with your partner. We call it the correction agreement. When you first start chatting with someone, you say, I'd love gentle corrections, maybe only the most important ones.
Gentle corrections. I really like that phrasing. It protects my ego a bit.
And you can use the rule of 3. Ask your partner to limit their feedback to just 1 grammar mistake, 1 vocabulary improvement, and 1 pronunciation tip per session. That's it.
That is super manageable. I can handle 3 things. But what do I actually do with them? Usually someone corrects me, I say, oh, okay, thanks, and then I immediately forget it.
And that's the missing step for most people. You need a post-game routine. It takes exactly 4 minutes. Step 1, copy the 3 corrected sentences down. Step 2, rewrite them using your own personal details. Step 3, record yourself reading them out loud. And step 4, use them in the next chat.
That last one is key, isn't it? Use them. Actively force them into the next conversation.
It closes the learning loop. You're taking a mistake and turning it into a specialized tool. You actually stop fearing the mistake because you know you have a mechanical process to fix it.
All right, so we've chosen, we've held the loop, and we've acted on corrections. Now for the final letter, T, train with consistency. This is about building the habit. But before we get into the actual schedule of it, we need to touch on safety.
Absolutely. Online safety is totally non-negotiable here. Keep your personal info private, no home address, no exact workplace locations. Don't move to private messaging platforms like WhatsApp until you really trust the person. And above all, listen to your gut. If a conversation feels off or weird, just leave. You do not owe a stranger on the internet a conversation.
Loud and clear. Boundaries are super healthy. So once we're safe, how do we build this into a habit? Because saying I'll practice when I have time usually translates to I will literally never practice.
You need a concrete plan. We recommend a 2-week plan just to ramp up and build the muscle. Week 1 is all about confidence. You just alternate text chats with voice notes. So Monday, you text about daily life. Tuesday, you send a voice note story.
Okay, easing into it. No live pressure yet.
Exactly. Then week 2 is about fluency. This is where you introduce the 10-minute voice call. And I mean 10 minutes, not an hour. So Monday, voice call, simple topic. Tuesday, voice note. Wednesday, voice call, opinion topic.
I really like that it's short. 10 minutes is nothing. I can hide in my car and do that on my lunch break.
That's the entire point. The goal isn't perfect speaking. The goal is speaking again and again. Volume wins over perfection every single time.
So let's recap the CHAT method for you. C is choose the right tool text for confidence, voice notes for fluency, and use the checklist to filter for partners who actually ask questions. H is hold the loop. Don't just answer. Use answer, detail, question, choice, and use those bridge phrases to buy time. A is act on corrections. Limit them to 3 and actually force yourself to use them next time. And T is train with consistency. Start small, stay safe, and gradually build up to those live calls.
That's it. That is the entire functional framework.
It sounds so incredibly doable when you break it down like that. It's not magic, it's just mechanics.
It is doable. But I want to leave everyone listening with one final thought. We often think of fluency as this concrete finish line we cross. Like one day you wake up and you're fluent, but fluency actually grows when you simply want to come back to the conversation.
Yeah.
If you treat every chat like an academic test you're being graded on, you will eventually burn out and quit. But if you treat it like a respectful social game, using these mechanical rules to keep the ball moving, you stop focusing on your fear. You start focusing on the actual human connection. And one day, you'll look up and realize you've been speaking for 20 minutes without thinking about a single grammar rule. That is when you've truly won.
Wow, that's the dream right there. Connection over perfection. So here is your challenge for today. Open that language app, find a partner, and send that 3-part message. Hi, I'm practicing for fluency. Do you prefer text or voice? Just start the loop. Thanks for listening to Chat Like a Native.
Good luck out there. You've got this.